Welcome to the Glitch Archives. In the vast, often unsettling landscape of the internet, some artifacts persist, not just as viral curiosities, but as genuine digital horrors. Today, we delve into one such anomaly, a video that surfaced over a decade ago, featuring an android named Tara, and a song that would forever haunt the deeper corners of online communities. It was a brief, low-quality clip, yet its impact was profound, leaving countless viewers with an indelible sense of dread, sparking theories that stretched into the darkest realms of human depravity.
The video itself is deceptively simple. An automaton, crudely constructed with pale skin and eerily human-like hair, stares blankly into the camera. Its mouth moves with stiff, unnatural precision as it croaks out the phrase, "I feel fantastic, hey, hey, hey." The voice is a synthesized monotone, devoid of emotion, yet its repetition becomes a chilling mantra. Tara, as the android was named, quickly became a symbol of the uncanny valley, a creation so close to human, yet so fundamentally wrong, that it triggered an intrinsic sense of alarm in observers.
But the true horror wasn't just in Tara's unsettling appearance or her robotic serenade. It was in the details, the subtle cues that the collective subconscious of the internet began to piece together. Viewers fixated on the background of the shot, a seemingly mundane backyard, yet one element stood out with grim significance. A patch of freshly disturbed earth, mounded and uneven, bore a disquieting resemblance to a shallow grave. This observation ignited the first spark of a macabre theory, twisting a mere hobbyist's project into something far more sinister.
The theory began to coalesce. What if the disturbed earth was indeed a burial site? What if Tara's creator was not merely an eccentric inventor, but something far worse? The video's description, which often changed or was re-uploaded, sometimes included oblique references to the android wearing new skin or fresh clothes. This detail, combined with the perceived grave, led many to a terrifying conclusion. The android was not just an eerie puppet, but a trophy, dressed in the clothing of its creator's victims, a chilling display by a serial killer. The internet had found its monster.
The atmosphere of the video itself did little to dissuade these dark interpretations. The lighting was consistently dim, almost oppressive, casting deep shadows that played tricks on the eyes. The camera work was static, yet felt invasive, like peering into a private, forbidden ritual. Every frame seemed to whisper secrets, hinting at untold stories beyond the robotic song. It wasn't just low production value. It was a deliberate aesthetic that amplified the innate creepiness of Tara, wrapping the entire presentation in a shroud of unsettling mystery, a digital haunted house.
And then there was the sound. The synth music, minimalist and repetitive, underscored the entire performance. It was a melody that burrowed into the subconscious, an innocuous tune transformed into something menacing by its context. Paired with Tara's flat, lifeless rendition of "I Feel Fantastic," the audio created a dissonance that was almost physically uncomfortable. The combination of disturbing visuals, a chilling premise, and an unsettling soundtrack transformed a simple, bizarre video into a profound internet legend, begging the question: who was behind this digital nightmare, and what exactly were they trying to communicate?
As the videos spread across forums and social media, the initial fear morphed into a collective obsession. The internet, ever hungry for mysteries, rallied its decentralized forces. Anonymous users, armed with reverse image searches and IP trackers, began the hunt. They sought not just answers, but validation for their shared unease. Every flicker of an object, every shadow in the background was meticulously scrutinized for clues. This wasn't just idle curiosity. It was a digital forensics operation, driven by the chilling possibility that they were witnessing a confession, or worse, a warning.
The investigation quickly focused on the video's upload origins. Early versions pointed to a channel with a cryptic username, often associated with obscure robotics projects. These digital breadcrumbs, though scarce, were enough for the nascent community of creepy internet researchers. They scoured old LiveJournal entries, forgotten forum posts, and archived web pages, piecing together a profile of the individual behind the disturbing footage. The digital trail was faint, yet persistent, leading them closer to the source of the uncanny android.
Eventually, the collective efforts of online sleuths bore fruit. A name began to circulate: John Bergeron. He was identified as an amateur robotics enthusiast from Florida, known for his eccentric projects and a somewhat reclusive nature. This discovery, however, did little to quell the mounting dread. In the minds of many, a reclusive hobbyist creating uncanny androids in a backyard that resembled a burial site only amplified the sinister narrative, fitting perfectly into the dark web lore that had begun to define "I feel fantastic."
The discovery of John Bergeron's identity was met with a mix of relief and renewed suspicion. On one hand, there was a tangible person, not just an anonymous internet bogeyman. On the other hand, the very real existence of someone creating such a profoundly unsettling piece of media only intensified the mystery. The internet's narrative, however, had already solidified. It wasn't just a weird video anymore. It was the serial killer android, a legend passed between dark corners of Reddit and 4chan, each retelling adding another layer of grim detail, another whisper of a victim.
The digital mob, convinced of their grim theory, continued to extrapolate. They imagined a basement filled with macabre trophies, a disturbed mind meticulously documenting his atrocities through the guise of an artistic project. The quiet, almost mundane suburban setting of the video became a terrifying contrast to the horrific acts they believed were occurring within its bounds. The narrative of the serial killer android became so entrenched that it almost superseded the original video itself, a testament to the power of collective imagination fueled by fear and anonymity.
But as with many internet mysteries, the truth often proves far more mundane, yet no less strange than the elaborate fictions woven around it. The real story behind "I Feel Fantastic" slowly began to emerge, not from the whispers of anonymous forums, but from the man himself. The online sleuths had indeed found John Bergeron, but the monster they had created in their minds was not the man they eventually uncovered. The true explanation was about to shatter the dark narrative, revealing a reality that, while odd, was devoid of the serial killer horror. Or was it? We continue to explore this digital rabbit hole in our next segment.
The grim theories propagated by the internet began to unravel when John Bergeron himself, the creator of Terra, emerged from the shadows. Far from being a reclusive serial killer, Bergeron was, by all accounts, an eccentric but harmless individual with a passion for robotics and engineering. He had been creating automatons for years, viewing them as artistic expressions and technical challenges. Terra was simply his latest project,
a rudimentary humanoid designed to experiment with synthetic skin and basic motor functions. The video, he explained, was merely a demonstration of her capabilities.
And what of the infamous backyard burial site? Bergeron clarified that the disturbed earth was nothing more than a recent gardening project. He had been transplanting a shrub or digging a small pond, a common suburban activity. The perception of it being a grave was a product of the video's low resolution, the dim lighting, and the collective desire to find sinister meaning. The new clothes comment, he revealed, was a reference to the synthetic skin and fabric he used to dress Tara, a natural progression in her construction, not a macabre trophy. The unsettling aesthetic of the video, the dark lighting, the static camera, the repetitive synth music, was not a deliberate attempt to create horror. Instead, it was simply the result of limited resources and technical skill. Bergeron was an amateur, recording with basic equipment in his home environment. The mood that had so captivated and terrified the internet was an accidental byproduct of his rudimentary production, not a carefully crafted psychological weapon. The true story stripped away the layers of intentional dread, revealing a far more innocent origin.
Bergeron, initially unaware of the viral storm brewing around his creation, was eventually confronted with the horrifying narrative. He was bewildered, then distressed by the internet's projection of him as a serial killer. What began as a quirky, personal project had been twisted into a global nightmare. The "I Feel Fantastic" video became an internet legend, but it was a legend that painted its creator as a monster, an unintended consequence that deeply affected him and his perception of his hobby.
The "I Feel Fantastic" android stands as a potent example of how the internet can transform the mundane into the monstrous. It illustrates the power of collective interpretation, where ambiguity breeds suspicion, and a few unsettling details can fuel an entire fabrication. The story isn't about a serial killer, but about us, the audience, and our primal need to find patterns, even sinister ones, in the noise. The digital landscape amplified fears, turning a simple hobbyist into the subject of a disturbing urban legend, a legend far more terrifying than the reality. Ultimately, the "I Feel Fantastic" video serves as a chilling testament to the internet's unique ability to generate, propagate, and firmly entrench its own myths. John Bergeron's strange hobby through the lens of collective paranoia and digital misinterpretation was transformed into an enduring piece of digital horror. The android Tara, a mere collection of wires and plastic, became a symbol of untold atrocities. This bizarre journey from innocent creation to internet monster raises a fundamental question. When faced with the unknown online, how much of the horror do we truly find, and how much do we ourselves create? The answer remains as unsettling as Tara's song itself. Join us next time as we continue to unlock the unsettling mysteries of the Glitch archives. The saga of "I Feel Fantastic" serves as a stark reminder of the internet's peculiar ecosystem. A simple, albeit odd, creation by an amateur robotics enthusiast became a canvas upon which collective anxieties and darkest theories were painted. The video's grainy quality, the uncanny valley effect of Tara, and the accidental backdrop of a freshly tilled garden coalesced into a narrative of terror. This digital myth grew independently, taking on a life of its own, far removed from its creator's benign intentions. It highlights how quickly speculation can harden into perceived fact online, shaping a distorted reality for millions.
In the end, John Bergeron's I Feel Fantastic was not a glimpse into the mind of a monster, but a powerful, albeit accidental, social experiment. It revealed the human propensity to find horror in ambiguity, to construct narratives from scraps of information, especially within the anonymous and often sensationalized environment of the web. The true horror wasn't the android, but the collective imagination that transformed a peculiar hobby into a terrifying urban legend. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of digital myths. Subscribe to the Glitch Archives to access more unsettling investigations.